Welcome everyone to tonight's edition of Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights, this is the first Friday Night Lights of the year, obviously. It's exciting, of the Gregorian calendar. Obviously, we all are aware that the Hijri calendar, this is our 33rd episode of Friday Night Lights. Kind of just made that up, to be honest. I have no idea. But we're joined by Sheikh Kamal, obviously, our regular co-host, the Lion of the Sunnah, Black Belt of Da'wah.
You're the only one who says that, by the way, in the world.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. The Qahir of bad parents. And we have a special guest, alhamdulillah, a surprise guest, Sheikh Abdul Ahad. Remind me of the last name again, Sheikh Baqiyur? Baqiyur, sorry. Sheikh Abdul Ahad Baqiyur. And Sheikh Abdul Ahad is a new addition to the Houston community, alhamdulillah. He's the new Imam at Pearland Islamic Center. Originally from Tajikistan, and studied at al Qura in Mecca. And alhamdulillah, we're happy to have him here now. Welcome, Sheikh. So you did a stint in where were you before Houston?
I was in Louisiana, Baton Rouge.
MashaAllah,
Yeah.
MashaAllah. So
And
you're
before that,
Before that, I was in Virginia.
so you're always upgrading, I see.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. But
there's nowhere up from here. Khalas, that's it.
inshallah.
You're
Yeah.
done. So Sheikh, you speak Tajik, right?
Yeah, Tajik is my first language, my
Okay.
native language.
And of course Arabic and English. Anything else?
You could say Russian.
Is Russian.
Yeah.
Вы понимаете по-русски?
Oh, хорошо понимаю.
Вы, I said it. Вы понимаете по-русски?
Где вы учили русский?
Actually, I don't speak.
I was like, is that
Actually,
your one line or what's going on?
One time, I stayed in Azerbaijan for 3 months. So my
Okay.
Russian got so good, I flew on Aeroflot, and they had the new Ice Age movie. It was in Russian. I understood it. But you know, you have to keep practicing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Some here, we could practice,
Yeah.
inshallah, on the
Is
phone.
there dialogue in the Ice Age movie?
yeah.
Okay.
You know, the one with Manny and Sid the Sloth. Anyways, how about, is it similar enough where you can understand Turkish? Is it a Turkic language?
No,
No.
Russian is totally different.
So Uzbek,
Yeah.
no, not
No,
Russian,
no.
I mean Tajik.
No, Tajik is Farsi,
Farsi.
Persian, yeah.
Straight up?
Mm-hmm. Or, you know, it's a definitely dialect, but
So you understand Farsi, Dari?
yeah.
Yeah?
Mhm.
شما میخواین که فارسی گپ بزنم یا به انگلیسی گپ بزنم؟
شما با انگلیسی گپ زنید تا که همه بفهمن.
Fantastic, mashallah. All right, all right.
Sheikh Kamal has one line in every language.
That's true.
It is, right?
That's true.
So did you
Not
understand
every-
me? The last.
No, I say mine, and then when the other person responds, I'm
Well,
like,
Okay.
it's real
so,
easy.
So the sheikh said is, are you comfortable with me talking in English or Farsi? You want me to talk in Farsi? I said, no, let's speak in English so everybody could understand. But that part he didn't understand, so now I have to translate.
So I said that sentence to my students who spoke Farsi one time.
Okay.
So every time we finish a lesson, any questions? Someone puts their hand up. Yes. Can you say something in Farsi? Then someone else. Can you say something in Farsi? So I told them, اگر یک دفعه دیگه گفتن که در فارسی گپ بزن یک خوب سعیلت میخوره.
Subhanallah. MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
You don't have to laugh. I know you didn't get it.
No. The sheikh here pretty good in Farsi.
So what did you just say?
Yeah.
I said, if anybody asks me to say anything in Farsi one more time, I'm going to give you a good beating.
Nice. Okay. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah.
All right, sorry for that derailment.
So yeah, we got derailed right from the beginning here.
Yeah.
So we wanted to, today the discussion is about New Year's resolutions, and I guess we could start, Sheikh, by Sheikh Kamal. Any New Year's resolutions for you?
No, not really. I didn't get there yet.
Did you get to any of them?
No.
Sheikh Abdul Ahad, any New Year's resolutions for you this year?
For me, you know, I'm new Imam at PIC, Pearland Islamic Center. So I have quite a few plans to, you know, I would like to accomplish in 2023. Basically, you know, much of it is involved to, you know, bringing the community and uniting them through, you know, different activities and Alhamdulillah, I hope Allah helps me to accomplish. Some of them is short term, and some of them is long term goals. Mainly, what I want to see in my masjid is to become populated, like mashallah, clear, like this Islamic center.
Inshallah.
And this is one of the reasons, you see me come into this masjid, and just, a little while ago, a brother told me, it's like,
You were here for Jum'ah today, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're stealing the ideas. I'm like, I'm not stealing, but I'm learning.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Jazakallah
May
khair.
Allah bless you, Sheikh, and bless your community.
Allah barik feek.
Any amazing New Year's resolutions from everybody here that you'd like to share? What do y'all got going on for this year? Yes, Sheikh Ahmed.
Can Sheikh Abdullah give us a little bit of background about Islam in Tajikistan?
That's more-
a quick
It's
background.
more exciting than the resolution. Yalla, let's hear it.
on Islam in Tajikistan.
Well, honestly, I lived out of Tajikistan almost half of my life. Yeah. I came to America when I was young. I was 16, and after I left America, I was in Mecca for 10 years. But after all, Tajikistan is my country. Alhamdulillah, I think I'm the right person to tell you about Tajikistan and the Muslims. And Alhamdulillah, the da'wah is going. The people are very nice, hospitable.
The people are mostly what, religious-wise?
You're talking about the madhab, or the
Are they all
religious ones
Muslim?
there? Yeah.
The entire country is Muslim?
Yeah. They say 99% the country are Muslims, but you have Muslims that are practicing Muslim and Muslims that born Muslims. Alhamdulillah, in the last, I can say 10 years, there is a huge tawajjuh of the shabab, the youth, into Islam and learning, especially with the social media. Alhamdulillah, قربت البعيد. Alhamdulillah, there are some restrictions, but let's be optimistic and say, the Muslims are, compared to the years that we lived in the USSR during the age of the Soviet, there a lot of things has changed, and we have more hurriya, to practice our deen.
Is it majority Sunni? Or
Yeah, it is majority Sunni. Yeah. This is what I get a lot, because since Tajikistan is, I said we speak Farsi, so the people, ask me. The second question is like, so the Sunni or the Shia? The majority is Sunni. Yeah. These three countries, mainly Iran, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan, we speak the same language. You have the Sunni madhab predominantly in Tajikistan and Afghanistan. And in Tajikistan, other than the deen, we have a lot of attraction, sightseeing places, the scenery, beautiful mountains that people go see. I would like you guys one day, inshallah, to come and maybe I give you a tour. Right.
MashaAllah.
We're going to plan a community trip to, a Houston trip to Tajikistan.
Inshallah. Yeah. I would love to be your tour.
All right, second derailment. Yalla, third. So Sheikh Ammar is saying, the ones that are shareable, I want to get rid of my gut. Share something shareable. What do you have? Resolutions for the new year.
Sheikh, what are the most common resolutions for the new year?
The most common are lose weight, exercise more, and eat better. And some of them are problematic, right? Some of them are problematic.
But we ate better today.
You ate better, huh? And better in this case meaning worse. Because eat better should be better things,
Oh,
right?
man.
You like eat more, I think.
Yeah. We made some bad decisions today. But those are three: eat better, lose weight, and
Exercise more,
exercise more.
which is, they have problems with them, as we're going to get to. But what's interesting is most people set New Year's resolutions when the New Year comes along. Does anybody know the percentage of people that actually carry out their resolutions? What percent of people actually go through with them?
5%.
Huh? They say a
5.
little better than that. A little better. You're close though. They say about 8%.
20?
8%.
8%.
Can you imagine that? And at the same time, everybody, there was a question. They say, can you change someone who doesn't want to change? And psychologists say this question is incorrect because there's no such person. Meaning, everybody in their mind has a better version of themselves, or how they would like to be, or how they. Okay, so everybody wants to improve. Everybody wants to change and be better in one way or another. And yet, when it comes to action, there's just 8% get it done. So that means there got to be some major obstacles on the way. That's why we're going to look at those also, inshallah.
So, Sheikh, is it done among the Muslims you're talking about, or generally?
No, so I mean, typically when you look at a study, done by this university or that, it just means
Okay,
the American
yeah.
population. And I've said this before. We always assume that the Muslims living in America. I'll concede that Muslims living outside of America might have different numbers, but Muslims living in America are just like non-Muslims living in America. Like the average study says. The average person uses 2 million bad words. So we say, suppose it's 500,000, it's 1 million for the Muslim. No, it's 2 million. Okay, don't pretend. All right, or the average person, looks at this much per day, or video games this much per day. No, our kids are in qiyam, mashallah. It's the same thing. The same thing. For the most part, it's the same.
But I would hope that with regards to certain aspects, I've seen some studies with regards to, for example, let's just say the vices of American society. Do you feel like the Muslims are right on par with all of these vices?
So I don't have any concrete evidence, right? But I also don't have any reason to assume they're not. For
Take something like alcohol.
لا. Okay, but haram images, for example, Muslim youth is going to be like a non-Muslim youth, all right?
Yeah.
Even overseas, there was one study, it was a high percentage, but alcohol, maybe I would expect would be lower with alcohol, heroin, crack. Crack is hilarious. The minute you say crack, people laugh.
It is
They should have
funny.
named it something more serious,
I see what you're saying.
You can't, I'm addicted to crack. I'm like, it's hilarious. How did that happen? All right.
Sheikh Abdul Ahad, even before we get into the resolutions, I do want to backtrack. With regards to the issue of Aslan, the New Year, starting with the resolutions and what have you, do you think that Muslims should pay it? We had this conversation a little bit last week at the beginning of, I don't even think it made it to the actual broadcast, but the idea of paying attention to the Hijri calendar versus paying attention to the Gregorian calendar.
Well, us Muslims, we practice, we have our own way of life.
Okay.
So, our calendar is Hijri. You don't have, you don't need me to tell you that, we follow the Hijri calendar. If you look at the ayah, in Allah says, إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم. The number of months in the number of months are with Allah is 12 months in the preserved tablet since the day Allah created the heavens and the earth. منها 4 حرم of which 4 are sacred. So if we look at the ayah of which four are sacred, you know, look at the Gregorian. Which one of these are sacred? Is it November because of Thanksgiving, or
The Super Bowl
December?
happens in January.
or
June is
the
NBA
December
finals.
because of the new year? So Allah is clearly talking about the Hijri, Taqweem al-Hijri, right? And those, the sacred months are Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab Mudhar. But let's be realistic. You know, the majority of the Muslims, I'm talking here in the West, they may not even know the Taqweem al-Hijri, which month we are in, or which date we're in, or the month. But what is important here is, you know, these days, these months that are, and weeks and hours that pass by us, نحن محاسبون, right? We will be asked about of every second and the minute and the hour of our life that passed by. If this is the case, you know, we should do محاسبة of our أنفس, nafs, first before we're being held accountable. Like I believe Al-Hasan al-Basri, he said, rahimahullah, you know, hold yourself accountable today before you're being held accountable. For if you held accountable yourself in the dunya, the hisab will be a lot less and easy on you in the akhirah. Regardless, you know, it's Hijri or the Gregorian, but you know, I believe, you know, we should teach our kids and about the Hijri, but what is also important is that we will be, you know, these hours and that pass by us. This is they are part of our life. We need to take advantage before it's too late.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh Kamal, you had said that there are problems with those three goals that people had.
Yeah.
What are the problems with those goals?
So when you make your goals for your resolution or whatever your goals are, make sure that actually you're the one who's got that whole SMART thing. You know, that make sure they're measurable, right?
What is a SMART goal, guys? What's the acronym for? SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-oriented, right? Time-oriented. So if you have a goal,
So specific.
Make it specific.
I'm gonna lose weight. Measurable. I want to lose 20 pounds.
I'm gonna lose weight. No, yeah, measurable. So I'm gonna lose 20 pounds.
Attainable. I'm gonna learn
Attainable.
to fly this year. Just kida. Not attainable.
Or, you know, maybe 20 pounds is not attainable in a particular period, or maybe that's too much or too little, or what
In a
have you.
year?
Maybe, I don't know.
All right.
Depends on the person, right? But even a year, you make it time oriented. You make it something that's you know, something that's specific to a year. Might be way too long, right? So if you can do it in 2 months, for example, you make that the goal. You don't extend it beyond your actual interest.
You might lose it and gain it back,
You
but you
might
still
lose
hit
it,
the
you
goal
gain it,
though.
You still hit the goal. Right, so making your goals smart. But I would say with the goals that you mentioned just now, when you said, for example, lose weight, when you said exercise, and the third one was
Eat better.
eat better. So my problem with, for example, lose weight is that it's about the goal as opposed to a process.
Jameel. Perfect.
So I can't control losing weight per se, but I can control eating better. I can control exercising every day. I can control, like, these are the things that I'm actually going to do that will eventually get me to that goal. I'll give you an example. Someone says, I want to memorize the Quran. Okay, that's a big goal. But what I can control is every day making sure that I give an hour to memorizing the Quran. That's what I'm holding myself accountable to. I'm holding myself accountable. I'm not falling in love with the goal, but I'm falling in love with the process.
Good.
And if you fall in love with the process, then you'll eventually get to the goal. And so whatever it is that my goal is, that I figure out what's the process that will get me to that goal, and then I really, really, really focus on executing the process.
What if it's not an hour every day?
Even if it's 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is.
Great.
Whatever it is. And that's, if you, the book, a very popular book over the past couple of years, Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about the idea of falling in love with the process and then holding yourself accountable to get to that goal daily. So if my goal is to go work out at the gym, even if all I do is put on my sneakers and walk into the gym and run on the treadmill for 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute, or some days just walk into the gym and walk out, he's like, that is a day that's successful, because you really lose. You really lose when you don't go. And so how many times have people said this? They've gone to the gym, they've just decided they didn't feel like going to the gym, and then they decided to go. They pushed themselves to just walk in, and as soon as they just walk in, they sat in the sauna for 2 minutes, they already broke a sweat, so now that turns into a full workout, because khalas, I'm already here, I might as well do it. And so he talks about the importance of getting started on the goal every single day. Even if I'm not able to, if I don't have the time to read whatever it is that I said I was going to commit to reading every day in the Mus'haf, I'm not going to go to sleep without reading something. And so even if I read 2 lines, 3 lines, the point is consistency over a duration will get you further than breaking it apart and restarting every single time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sheikh Ammar, we could relate it to the Sunnah as well. You know, when Aisha, our mother, radiallahu anha, when she was asked about the amal of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said, "Kana
أدومها."
dima," right? Yeah. So even if it's a little bit.
وإن قل أدومها وإن قل, she said.
Yeah.
She said the Prophet ﷺ was the most consistent, even if it was the Prophet ﷺ said that the most beloved actions to Allah are the most consistent, even if they were small.
Yeah.
And Aisha was asked about the Prophet ﷺ's actions, and she said that he was consistent in what he did.
Yeah.
Dima, absolutely. So whatever a person can do, whatever the goal is, that you make your concern the process itself, falling in love with the process.
Nice. So we were saying that there have got to be a lot of obstacles because many people fail. So I really believe that when you understand the obstacles, it helps you kind of conquer them. But I do want to say earlier, when I was expressing my dislike of motivational speakers, you know, the self-help guys, you were kind of quiet. You like that kind of stuff?
Self-help?
Yeah. Like, I mean, you know those guys, you know, who talk and stuff.
I've got some guys that I like.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't want to say they're a waste of time, okay? But because I'm not going to say that, because
Okay.
I acknowledge that some people can benefit
Some
from
of them,
that.
Sheikh, get you pumped up.
That's all they do. They don't know you. They can't pinpoint your obstacles first. They don't know
They're not a coach.
Yeah, that's why I would prefer a life coach over this motivational guy. The motivational guy, you're going to give him $3,000 of your hard-earned money. And he's going to come in and he's going to pump you up. And then they're going to tell you some stuff. Not all of them, okay? They're going to tell you some stuff that's just nonsense, all right? Imagine yourself sitting at a beach. I don't like beaches, okay? I'm black. Why am I going to sit in the sun? I don't like beaches. Or don't tell me, imagine yourself sitting at a beach, sipping on, I don't sip anything, okay? We're halal people over here. We don't sip anything with umbrellas in it. I don't like umbrellas even. So this stuff, it pumps you up. It's nonsense. I really believe most of it is nonsense. And I like books there's a book called 59 Seconds by Wiseman, some guy Wiseman. And he basically, it's like the researcher's response to all the imagine yourself doing this and doing that. Research shows a lot of that stuff is no good. But the guy gives you a pump, you feel good, you go out, and 2 months later, guess what? You're the same person. But it's easy to do that for many months and then show me the people that you helped improve. improve or change their life, so we bring a guy up and I used to do this and that, then I took so and so's class and I went from this and I went to that. He's been doing this for 10 years. He can get you 7 people that he changed his life. And I think that stuff is easy, and there's a scamish angle to it. I think we're in the age of information. You should understand yourself, understand the obstacles, why you do what you do, and tailor your solution. And if it's hard, get a life coach, but don't go blow your money. Watch him on YouTube for free.
Well, who said I'm paying anything? I'm not paying.
My man, that's how you do it.
Watch it on YouTube for sure. But I have a question for you, because you just hit on a lot of different things. But of them is the idea of getting a coach, okay? Which leads us to another thing. For me to obviously talk to a coach, that means that I have to tell people about my goals. Should we tell people about our goals? Right? You saw how everybody was super quiet right now. It was like we asked them who they're voting for. Nobody said anything.
Yeah.
So should I share my goals publicly to people? Should I announce it on social media? Should I tell a close group of friends? Like, who do I share it with, if I should share it at all?
I believe.
Does it affect
you
my
should.
ikhlas if it's a religious goal?
Okay. So I believe that, of course, within reason, you should be able, or some goals can be shared with close friends, family, or even on Facebook, because
if you put it on Facebook, no one will see it because Facebook is dead.
Is that what? Fine. Whatever these other things are, put it wherever you want to put it. The point is, as long as some people can see it, and they will act as an extra motivator. So if I say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year, or I'm going to get a 6-pack. Now, if I just say it in my head, I'm going to get a 6-pack this year. 2023 is 6-pack year.
6-pack season.
Yeah, well. So what happens? Yalla, let me get up and do 200 sit-ups. I'll start tomorrow, inshallah. And then Bukra, I'll start tomorrow. But if I tell my friends on January 2nd, hey, this year I'm going to lose my gut and I'm going to get a 6-pack. When they see me in March, they're going to be like, what's this, man? You said you're going to lose the 6-pack. So it serves as an extra. You like that?
Can they do it again?
So it serves as an extra motivator, right? I did that to myself one time. Oh, by the way, Ilm Fest is coming to Houston, right? January 28th.
Yes, 6-pack before then?
Right. So, no. I was going to a Ilm Fest one year, and every class and Maghrib class that I gave, I told them, for the talent show session, there's a section called Shuyukh Talent Show. And I kept telling every city that I'm going to do 100 push-ups in under 1 minute.
Okay.
And I kept making sure to tell everybody, because now there's pressure on me to perform. Whereas if it's in my head, they're like, nobody knows it. That it's tomorrow and like, khalas, nobody knows. But if I tell everybody, I'm going to push.
At Ilm Fest, you were going to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was doing I got to 46 push-ups in under 30 seconds. And then I injured my wrist and I couldn't do anything.
SubhanAllah, how convenient.
Very
SubhanAllah.
convenient.
SubhanAllah, how unfortunate.
It's one of those injuries where you're like, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
So we never got to see it.
Yeah, we never got
but
to see
Ilm Fest
it.
is coming back in 4 weeks.
It's coming back in 4 weeks. Yes, sir. So, get your tickets and all that good stuff. The point is, what were we saying? I forgot.
So we were saying the importance of sharing it publicly.
Yeah, so it can serve. Now, you got the issue of ikhlas, right? And the minute you post something like that online, and you got I don't know, those warriors, those iman warriors, or whoever, the police, or they start, what about ikhlas? Ya akhi, you've never heard of a Quran competition where there is a first prize, right? So you're doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and we're adding extra incentive to motivate you. There's a first prize and a second and a third, or all these kinds of things where you motivate people. The mashayikh, the scholars used to pair up their students. Not all of them, some of them would pair their students so they could compete with each other in memorizing the hadith and memorizing the Quran as an extra motivator. But initially they're doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. What if you're not doing it for the sake? Renew your intention, ya habibi. Renew your intention and make sure it's for the sake of Allah first. Or, that other point,
Yeah, you just do more.
do more and keep that a secret.
Do more. Yeah.
Go for an 8-pack and
And don't tell anybody about it. Do 200 push-ups.
there you go.
So, Okay, so any resolutions for today or not yet? Anyone have some resolutions?
Did you
that they
set
like
it?
to
I mean,
set?
I actually didn't get to it. Like, because I'm making decisions. Like, do I want to go to the gym? Do I want to do this? I want
You
to
haven't
decide.
figured it out?
For,
I have
yeah.
a book, Sheikh, that I need to finish.
That's your for 2023. How
I
big
mean,
is this book?
hopefully it should be in the
Better be
first.
Tariq al-Tabari.
It's not even a tabari, not. no
It's like
way.
more than one volume, though.
Not at all.
Uh,
That's what I'm saying. It's just
So you got
getting
a
pushed
year.
back. No, I don't even need a year. I just need the first. It's just a goal in 2023 to finish,
To finish this book.
and then hopefully within the first quarter it'll be done. But that's my pronouncement, so people can bother me about it.
Is the book how to finish any book quickly? Or something?
in a year? Hopefully with AI, inshallah ta'ala, it'll help us.
Sheikh Kamal,
Al.
so you talked about something to motivate you, and you mentioned the motivational speakers. So how about, the person, the goals that he set for the new year? Something that, it could also help, I believe, is to relate it and link it to the deen, make it religious, and, to seek the pleasure of Allah.
Nice.
To me.
Right? Like, for example, you're working out, it's not for the sake of six packs only, right? But your goal is, your intention is, you want to get healthy so you could fulfill the ibadat
Nice.
in more in a way that without feeling any burden. Like, for example, a salawat, right? The tarawih. Yani some people, most of us, we're not used to. So if you have that, if your body is healthy, it helps us, help you to stand before Allah Azza wa Jal with, without being worried about, your foot hurts, or you want to sit down, or you can't do it anymore. I think the healthy body is good, especially when it comes to do ada al-ibadat. So if you make your intention that this is for Allah and to to fulfill my responsibility as the servant want Allah, you want to perfect your ibadah, I think you'll be rewarded for both your worldly to achieve your goal and as well the akhirah.
That's a smart person right there. Because you took something that's mubah where there's no reward, and
Yeah.
now you tweaked your intention, and now you're getting reward for
Exactly.
for doing it.
Mhm.
You could lose weight for your wife's sake, right? You don't think there's a reward in that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, for the sake of healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how our salah suffers because of lack of mobility.
Mm.
People with tight hamstrings, loss of ankle mobility.
Mhm.
There's so much in our salah that gets affected because we're not as flexible
Yeah.
as in modernity, sitting in chairs all the time and things like that, as the people before us were. And so the more a person is able to pray the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ, like the Prophet ﷺ prayed, the more it affects their khushu', the more it affects their mindfulness in their prayer, the more beautiful their prayer.
Yeah.
And so even those exercises, if a person is just intending to come in back and see its effect in their salah, it becomes something beautiful and it becomes something
Yeah.
that is rewardable for sure. So, Sheikh Kamal, you had mentioned this issue of habits.
Yes.
How does a person, we've talked about just not making it about the end goal.
Yeah.
Anytime a person has a goal, it's not just about the end goal, it's about developing the habits that'll get you there. How does a person develop good habits?
You already mentioned
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
It's a good book.
Okay. And there's a book that I love a lot. It's called The Power of Habits. And I've mentioned it here before, The Power of Habits, and the Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And if you've been reading a lot in this field, it's like no book has really hit the nail on the head as far as how to bypass motivation. Like, I cannot motivate someone who doesn't want to lose weight to lose weight. It's not going to work. I can make him pay $3,000 and pump him up, and you can do it, and imagine yourself, you're able to see your feet. And then what? 2 months later, nothing changes. So this book was like hacking the the habit loop. Keep the stimulus the same, change the action, and keep the reward the same. Anyways, that's just in a nutshell. But remember, we're talking about how like the failure rate is huge for people who want to change a habit. So we're saying you got to identify like what's wrong. One of the common things is that most people don't know what to change. And if you know what you need to change in your life, that is a great blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal. And there's even a saying in English, they say, knowing what to change is the beginning of wisdom. Because, and I've seen this with my own eyes, someone will say, you know what, this is not working out, this is not working out, or my relationship with my wife, it's the city. We got to get out of the city. It's not the city. It's never the city. What do you mean it's the city? They up and move to another state, guess what? It's the same guy. It's the same woman. So the problems are exactly there. They're the same problems. So a lot of times people don't know, and I've seen this again multiple times with my own eyes, where a young Muslim troubled teenager goes to a counselor who is of course non-Muslim. They're having these discussions, and every time they bring up, Islam this, my parents this is not permissible in my deen, and so shortcut, easy way out. You know what? Here's the problem. This is what they put in their notebook. Islam, that's the problem. So they actually advise them to put religion aside for now. It seems that you keep bringing up religion a lot. That's the problem. Put it aside for now. Don't worry about religion and just focus on, that nonsense. They say, be you and connect with your inner mayonnaise or kalam al-farah. So
be authentically yourself.
Be authentic. Oh my God. I want to be born in another time period, man. I just can't stand things. Anyways, the thing is,
you wanted to have been born in 2010?
Oh my, 2010, yeah. So I could grow up, looking for safe spaces and stuff like that. Putting 2 pumps of vanilla in everything. The point is, what was I saying, man? I get sidetracked so easily.
You're talking about 2 pumps of vanilla.
Anyways, so they tell them to put Islam aside for now. And then what happens? They put Islam aside. Now they've got emptiness inside and shame, and they feel worse as a human being, and they get into depression and everything. So knowing what to change is such a blessing. Sometimes, it's not weight, it's not clear like weight or health, or it's just, I don't know what's wrong. I'm lazy, I don't have energy to do things, I don't have any plans, I don't have goals in life, which is, we said, is a big deal. Like, what if someone is just cruising through life, kid? Or is it cruising, or even just
they're letting life happen to them.
Hmm?
They're just letting life happen to them.
And
Umar
they
ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he said that he hates a person who is.
إني لأكره أن أرى الرجل سبهللا. He said, I hate to see a man who's just like this. No goals, no motivation, no incentives, just kid. Time passes and he's just floating. It's good, yeah.
It's amazing. We have entire Muslim cultures like that. Entire Muslim cultures, just like,
Am I familiar with those?
Oh, for sure. You're from one of them. Sudan is an entire culture. Just people just like whatever. I had an uncle of mine who back in the day when he was young, he was lamenting to me. He's old now, but he said not that old, but he told me, he said, Ammar, he said, when we were young, I used to be able to get onto a car from the village, and I would not ask them where we're going. And these cars would be leaving the village, going to a wedding 3 days away. And he would be like, I never used to ask them where we were going. And wherever that car took him, that's where he would go. He would go spend a week at a wedding here. He'd go spend 2 weeks at a funeral here. No problem. And they were just letting life happen like that.
But see, to some people today, that sounds like an adventurous man.
It's a very adventurous man. And he was lamenting. He's like, those were the good old days,
So that's the equivalent of jumping on Spirit and going wherever today, or.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But it's goalless, right?
All right, yeah, that's true.
The important thing is a person taking advantage of their time, right? The time that we have is very limited.
You mentioned something about Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and also it reminded me a statement of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, Ibn Mas'ud. He said, I detest a day that passed by ضربت فيه شمسه and ولم يزد فيه عملي.
نقص فيه أجلي ولم يزد فيه
عملي.
علمي وعملي.
Yeah. So I detest the day that the sun of it sets and a day from my life has been decreased, yet my amal did not increase. This was the
Attitude.
yeah, of the Sahaba in general. That, if they did not, sometimes we feel bad if we don't profit today. Our today's profit was very low. Like I'm talking about term like income, making money, and doing business and transactions and things like that. So, but if you look at the Sahaba, if they did not increase in righteousness, their amal, that would make them sad and upset that they didn't do. So I'm sure the next day they would double it up.
That's actually a brilliant point, because you know why a lot of people, so many people who are kind of sad or in a near depression, near a state of depression, it could be that a lot of it is due to guilt, which is linked to having resources and not making any progress.
Yeah.
So psychologists say the more room you have for improvement in your life, and you don't act upon that, the more room for guilt you have in your life. Yeah, and I always give the example, someone lives on top of the musalla, downtown musalla, it's in an apartment building. The musalla is downstairs, and he doesn't pray Fajr. He's going to feel very guilty for not praying in the musalla.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy who lives the other side of town and doesn't even have a car, he's not going to feel as guilty. So that's also why it's important to make some kind of move, because the bigger the gap, psychologists say, the bigger the gap between where you are and where you could have been, the more room for misery there is in your life. So if I have the potential to be here and I'm here, it's not too bad. But if I have the potential to be here and I'm here, I'm going to feel horrible and I'm going to feel like a loser. And in America, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a lot of people many opportunities from resources, because when you look at making changes, you take your resources into consideration. And for the most part, you live in America, you want to, let's go with losing weight again. So do I have access to, do I have access to
gyms? Yes.
Gyms. You know how gyms are.
Food.
Overseas. So expensive. Some are like $150 a month and stuff. Here you got $10 a gym membership, $20.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a nutritionist here that's affordable. You've got insurance so you can go get your blood checked and all that stuff, cholesterol and all that. And then you need money to eat healthy, right? It's weird. Salad costs more than meat. Isn't that crazy? You want to buy
crazy.
Yeah. So do you have the resources to make necessary changes? Because if not, you're going to get that gap, and there's room for misery in your life.
So that makes me think of two things. That gap also can exist because of a person's always looking at those who have more. So if you're talking about depression and social media and things like that, if I'm thinking that I should be attaining what this person who's my age on social media has as far as a lavish lifestyle and wealth and things like that, well, that would make me depressed in the first place. So I think part of it is being realistic in your expectations as well, and that a person not necessarily looking with an obsessive eye at those who have more than them. And the Prophet ﷺ says, don't look at those who have less than you, don't look at those who have more than you. It will make you more inclined to not reject the favors of God. So just being healthy in that aspect. But two, for me, Sheikh Kamal, what you just mentioned to me, it reminded me of a conversation that I had with, one of my relatives. And I think this does come with the American experience, especially when you're connected to overseas. You see how people who are so hardworking, I was speaking to one of my relatives. She was she's a trailblazer journalist, works really, really hard. Her entire life, she's been a very hard worker. And I was sitting with her and some of her peers, journalists, they're all journalists. And one of them asked me, they were like, why don't do you know how much your aunt makes? And I said, no. And he was like, why don't you ask her? And I was like, why would I ask her? I'm fine. He was like, no, just ask her. They were all sitting together. And so we calculated her monthly salary to be $100. That's 40 hours a week and all that type of stuff. It was $100. which is what one kid could make here. A high school kid could make $100 if they, you know,
Sold cupcakes.
if they sold cupcakes
So true.
outside of the masjid or something like that. They could make $100, and so
Our kids did that the other day at the youth bazaar.
yeah, right. So you can imagine just one person, if one of our high school kids decided, you know what, I'm going to raise $100, and then you send it overseas, that could be a person's monthly salary. Like, how would you feel if someone just donated to you your monthly salary? Just here you go, right? So we have so much opportunity here in the U.S. as far as resources, as far as wealth, and taking advantage of it is something that will give us so much, or will give others so much. But I would say as well, since you've been talking about nutritionists and access, I think one of the most important things a person can do is to simply just reach out to experts. Like if a person doesn't know what their goals are, what their goals should be, talk to people. Talk to your family members. What should my goals be? Talk to your friends. What are my talents? So many people, they don't even know what their talents are. They don't even know what their skills are. They don't even know. Again, I gave a khutbah today about consultation. Like, consult people. Talk to people around you. And if you don't have clarity, seek out that clarity. That's the point.
Great. What if you don't have a talent?
Everybody has a talent.
Figure it out, acquire it, yahi, learn something. What?
Learn
It's
a skill.
impossible. Learn a skill.
Learn a skill. There's another book that I was reading, also a fantastic book, Sheikh. It's called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. And this guy, he's like a computer science professor or what have you. But you know what's interesting? He argues in that book, because it's a book about digital minimalism. He's like, you know, you need to lower your, and he says specifically, he says every young man needs to learn a skill because, and even women, because we live at a time when people who are skillless are seeking fame and all of that type of stuff, right? Just by this. But if I build a table, I don't need to argue my talent. I can just point to the table and it says, this is what I built. Like, you have to have something that you can point to. A light switch works. It either works or it doesn't. You can figure out how to turn it on or create it or what have you, and to the point where it works, like as an electrician. And so the benefit of learning these types of skills is that you learn how to build things, you learn how to fix things, and it's not open for a presentation or an argument. I don't have to prove to you my skill. I can just point to it, something very, very simple. And he says this is something that's so gratifying for a person to be able to experience, for a person to be able to have.
This book is for millennials, man. That's a generation you got to teach this stuff. We grew up with skills, man. I'm not even boasting over here. We grew up with skills: woodworking, fixing like small gas motors, electrical equipment, VCR. If you know what that is, I would fix it. Iron breaks down, I would fix it. I'm talking about when I was 9 or 10 years old. Okay, so like, yeah, and
it either works or it doesn't.
No, it works. Okay, and this is something very frustrating to me. By the way, kids, yesterday I fixed the cotton candy machine. So I'm going to light it up after this, inshallah, all right?
Inshallah.
Free cotton candy. So I don't know, man. This frustrates me. You know, I've been traveling this country for how many years now? Every other week I'm in a different state and whatever, and I meet youth, and I'm like, I can count on one hand the talented Muslim youth that I've met.
Skilled, you mean?
Yeah, skilled, sorry. One guy in Seattle, he does woodworking. And he made an end grain cutting board and he put it through the planer. We talked a little bit about how he built it. He brought it to me as a gift. I'm like, this is the first guy I've met in close to 20 years of travel.
And you had to go to Seattle, the furthest city.
Exactly.
You had to go to the Pacific Northwest.
No sun. I mean, for God's sake. The point is, it's sad. I'll put it that way.
No, Sheikh. There must be somebody who knows how to do something.
Look, man, there are two talents Muslim youth are really good at: video games, kebab. Superb at that.
They can cook.
Eat. No, they eat.
Oh.
Cook. Eat kebab. Come on, wallahi. Come on, you guys. Wallahi, this frustrates me. Yeah, and it's just people who, it's not acceptable to not be able to do things today. Yeah, and these guys go live off on their own. You know what they eat? They just boil pasta. For God's sake, I can train a chimp to boil pasta. What is boiling pasta? You have all these channels on YouTube. You're going to boil pasta and pour a red sauce. out of a jar into it, that's not food. Wallahi, that's not food. And come on.
Sheikh, are we going to have a cooking competition one of these months?
We're gonna, man,
What are we doing next week?
Next Friday, we're doing a bread baking competition. I don't know if I spilled the beans before the flyer came out or not. Okay? But let me explain to you millennials what that means. Don't go buy me some frozen dough, put it on the counter until it rises and then stick it in the oven. No, Habibi, you get flour. Okay? You mix it. All right? And I'm going to be a part of that one as well. I'm going to bring a specialty Swiss bread. I'm not going to give any more clues. Okay? You will see for yourself how it's done.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Sheikh Abdul Ahad, how important are the circle that you keep around you, the friends that you keep around you as you're going towards your goals?
It's very important. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-mar'u ma'a khalili," right? The person is, you know, with his best friend. So if the people that I accompany and, you know, befriend with them and have them around me are positive, and you know, they support me, especially when it comes to toward achieving my goals, right? I think this is one way to, you know, to achieve your goals faster, and with the help of the brothers also, like Sheikh Kamal was talking about losing weight, right? So if I see a friend of mine is also, you know, following the same routine and going to the gym, and that would motivate me to go to the gym with him. So you know, and every day I'm asking him, like, you know, how many or week, right? How many pounds did you lose and things, and we exchange like some beneficial tips, like what are you eating, what is the things that, you know, keep your body healthy, and at the same time, you know, you don't have to, you know, fill with yourself with the stuff that don't, you know, necessarily beneficial for your journey to lose weight. I think, you know, friends are their you know, their main factor, especially someone like if you come across like someone that share the same goal with you. Like for example, Sheikh, I think you mentioned Sheikh Uthaymeen, you know, parent his students to memorize Quran. So if my goal is to memorize 10 juz or 1 juz or 5 in 2023, and if I am able to find someone who has the same goal, I think you know, we push each other. That's why look at the best players in football, the soccer. I mean, you know, when I think Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was asked about you know, him being, you know, the best player, so he said, you know, it was because of Messi that, you know, they kept on competing.
Pushing each other.
Yeah, pushing each other.
How about, who is the friend you should get rid of then, as far as your goals and trying to make changes? Which the friend that you should kind of not let in on this goal?
I think the ones that are, you know, pessimistic, right? And they just, you know, they discourage you instead of encouraging you.
The guy who tells you can't be done, right?
You don't like that guy.
I can't stand that guy. You have a business idea, and they think they're smart. It's just, it is literally the dumbest position, because you are doing the easy thing by telling me why it won't work. You know, I want to create an app that does this, and then the guy tells you it won't work. Here's why. You're not smart. Everybody in the street can tell me why it won't work, but it takes one genius to tell me this is how to make it work. So you're useless. To me, as far as this project is concerned, you're completely useless, because I already have these thoughts in my head. I already have doubts. Otherwise, I would be, you know, like whoever, fill in the blank with a rich guy. But I already have doubts, so you're just confirming my doubts. Like, hey, it's never gonna work, it's too risky, don't do it, you'll regret it. Okay, type. Get lost. Somebody smart, tell me how to make it work.
That comes in, I think in every team, there's that person. They're the ones who shoot down this idea and this idea and this idea. but they don't tell you, or they don't think, or they don't know how to tweak the idea to make it actually successful. And then you'll point and you'll be like, well, hold on, this guy's able to do it, and they'll tell you why this guy was able to do it, but they won't be able to tell you how you can get your position.
And you know who's like that? Al-Arab are like that. It's unbelievable. Like it's like some Twilight Zone nonsense. Arab? La ilaha illallah. I was at a meeting where I wanted to strangle both the guys, even though one of them wasn't doing anything wrong. He would tell him, this project won't work until you get مش عارف إيش, complicating things. Then the guy would tell him, he's like, you need at least 4 people working on it. He said, I'm going to put a team of 15. He's like, even then. طيب يا أخي. Unbelievable, ya. Unbelievable. So, to reach your goal, stay away from Arabs. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But you know it, One time, this was in Brooklyn, it was Ramadan, and I'm asking the kids, like, what's wrong with Arabs? They're all Arab kids, all right? So what's wrong with Arabs? One guy put his hands up. He says, they know everything about everything. For God's sake, talk to an Arab. And then the first thing they're going to tell you, what's the first word out of an Arab's mouth when you explain something to him?
فاهم?
لا.
Oh, لا.
You explain to him كده يقول لك لا. What do you know? You never even knew this device existed 20 seconds ago. And you already found a flaw in its design.
Okay.
Now, for those who don't get it, or it's your first time, I'm like between joking and between serious. This is technically known as مزحلي جدلي. All right? مزحلي جدلي.
Actually, Sheikh, if we could just wrap up.
I guess we need to.
Yeah, we need to wrap up with one last point from each of you, inshallah ta'ala, then we'll open up the floor for everybody else. Sheikh Abdul Ahad, if you have one last comment, inshallah ta'ala, on take-home advice on this issue of goals for us in 2023.
I think the main point is, one thing that if we go home, we should take it with us tonight, from tonight's al-liqa, is to take an advantage of our time. As the Muslim, these days pass by, but we all be, one day stand before Allah Azza wa Jal. فإذا عرفت أنك مسؤول فأعد للسؤال جوابا. So if we know, and we do for sure, that one day we'll be questioned about our time and the ni'am of Allah Azza wa Jal in general, and the time is which one of them. And if you refer to the Quran in many ayat, Allah Azza wa Jal emphasized the importance of our time. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Right? وَالضُّحَى. Allah swore by الضُّحَى. And
والفجر والليل.
والفجر والليل إذا يخشى. يعني subhanallah. Different parts of the time, whether it's the morning, whether it's night, or the asr, or some ajza of the day, the parts of the day. That means we, as a Muslim, we should not neglect this ni'mah, for we will be questioned about it. And if this is the case, then we should utilize our time and benefit as much we can, whether for our dunya or the akhirah. Whether for our dunya or the akhirah. And of course, our work should be a lot more toward the akhirah. ولا تنسى نصيبك من الدنيا. الله أعلم.
Don't forget your portion of this world.
Did I ever tell the story about the classroom and the ones who are not good with names? Did I ever tell that story?
No.
Okay. And this is, by the way, this is how you show that you're a good motivational speaker and I can help you change. You tell one success story, you hide your other 50 failures, okay? So I'm telling you this story because that's easy to pull off. Consultant is easy to pull off. Some of these positions are such rip-offs you have no idea. There was this video and it was like, oh, this guy, he's a consultant, very famous in the Muslim land, exposes how consultants work. And I read it, I'm like, what do you have, spaghetti for brains? You didn't understand this is how consultants work? Like you bring him into a company, he says, you know, our business is not doing well. How can you help us? What do you do? Well, we're carpet cleaners. But what does he know about carpet cleaning? So how does he solve your problem? I've done this. You sit him down. What is the problem? Get him to talk and tell you the problem. What do you think the solution is? Get them to tell you what the solution is. Put together some rinky-dink plan from what they just told you. How hard is that? These things, anyways. So, and look, I see the faces like, why are you upset? I'm upset because it's easy. Why do you go fall for it and pay somebody? Why don't you figure it out? That's what I'm saying. And I'm not talking to you. Just saying you in general. That you. So look, all this was to say, here's my real point, okay? So we were in Trinidad, and I was doing a class there, and then I asked, who's not good with names? 6 people put their hands up. 3 brothers and 3 sisters. And I took them outside, gave them about 4 or maybe 5 minutes of instructions. Brought them back into the classroom, had 15 random strangers. They didn't know everybody because it's just Trinidad, it's still big enough. They don't know everybody. 15 random guys got up on stage. Each one of them said their name once. Every one of the 6 people said all 50 names correctly with no mistakes. How do you do it? So there's a psychologist by the name of Martin Seligman. He coined this phrase. He called it learned optimism. He has a book called Learned Optimism, but he coined this phrase, learned helplessness, all right? And he gives a very good example of circus elephants. When the circus in the old days, now they have cages. In the old days, the circus would come to town, and they would tie a rope around the elephant's leg, and then with a peg, just beat the peg into the ground, and the elephant doesn't escape. Even though the elephant is strong enough to bring down the whole circus tent with one leg, he never tries to escape. That is due to the fact that when the elephant was a baby, they tied him with the same rope, same peg. He tried to escape, he couldn't do it. As an adult, he can escape, but he doesn't even try because he learned to be helpless. So, examples of that in human beings. I'm not good with math. That's learned helplessness. I'm not good with roads. I used to say that all the time. I once got lost in the street behind my house. And I called my roommate, and he was like, "You're behind? Just come to the front. اتفضل يا أخي." You know? Okay, but I used to say that to myself all the time. I'm not good with roads. So I'm not good with math. I'm not good with names. So the first rule, the first point I gave them was stop saying you're not good with names. You know, when we deal with our audiences, everybody in the room at least speaks 2 languages. And we'll have people, like I'm sure in this room we have people who speak 3 languages. Well, we got the sheikh speaking 4 languages over here, right? So, what are languages? You're memorizing hundreds and hundreds of words, if not thousands of words, and you just can't remember that this guy's name is Hassan? That's the hardest thing in the world? Or calculating 15% of a check at the restaurant? Even if you're not good at math, 15% is so easy. So, the first thing is stop telling yourself you can't do something. And that's one of the big issues. And that's, if I could leave you with one thing, just don't ever tell yourself that you can't do something. And I mean within reason. Yeah, you can't fly. But within reason, if another human being is able to do it, they put themselves through rigorous training until they were capable of doing it. And all you have to do is replicate that same rigorous training. And then you can do it. So my final thoughts are, imagine yourself sitting at a beach, sipping. Jazakumullah khair, you guys. Sallallahu Mubarak Muhammad. And so I get a lot of comments like, oh, you get all riled up and stuff. So, and sometimes, you say things like, I don't like this and I can't stand that. So if I was going to do the classic ending. If I offended anybody. Khalas, all right. Just let's take it all in good.
Any questions or comments from everybody, inshallah ta'ala, before we end on this wonderful first Friday Night Lights, inshallah. Yes, sir.
So, for example, if I have goals or resolutions, for example,
Your goal is to learn the Arabic language? Okay. When your schedule is packed day and night. So another thing is, when you have a goal, I would say there are certain things that you have to prioritize, and starting with those things as best as you can. So if I have a goal like learning a language, for example, again, it's the same thing. What time can I give every day for this thing? And as best as I can, I hold myself accountable to spending that time. I don't get hung up with regards to how successful my results are in that particular time. I hold myself accountable to showing up. There will be some days where in those 15 minutes, I am able to accomplish an assignment or go through a particular lecture or whatever it is that I'm, however, and there are some days where I just won't be, it won't seem that productive. But I hold myself accountable for showing up to that process, whatever that process is. I don't know if the mashayikh have anything else that they'd like to suggest.
I think it's also determination. Many students of knowledge start in the beginning, طلب العلم, and less than a year or two passed by, they haven't still learned anything. You grab a book, you read a few pages, and you close it. You say, it's too difficult, it's not in my level yet, and let me pick up another book. So you go pick up another book. So you already spend like 2 weeks with the first book. So and the second book, you do the same thing. So I'm afraid that it becomes a habit. So a whole year passed by, you still haven't decided which book you want to go with. I think, once you start, توكل على الله. فإذا عزمت
فتوكل على الله.
فتوكل على الله.
Once you commit, then rely on Allah.
Once you commit, rely on Allah and go with it. Don't give up. And also it could be, the shaitan. And sometimes it would bring you, يزين لك العبادة. So just, you could, give up this for this, and you end up not doing this or that.
I wanted to add something concerning languages. So, we're in the world of hacking now. You try to hack things, right? So don't reinvent the wheel. See those who are successful in doing it, how they've done it. Like for example, I just had to check this guy's name. There are a lot of TED Talks by polyglots, meaning they speak multiple languages, right? Benny Lewis is a famous one. That's the one I had to look up. But I've since 10 years ago, I've known of Tim Donner, who was in New York, and he was 21, spoke 16 languages, never left New York City. All right? There's another guy. He travels to a country. He stays, I think, 4 weeks or something, and he learns the language, or a few weeks. And he has the Egypt episode, and you can hear him speaking in the videos in his first week, busted up. And then in the 6th week, he's speaking excellent busted up Egyptian Arabic. Just kidding. The point is that, they figured it out. There's a TED Talk, how to learn a language in 6 months. We know a sheikh who learned to speak a language that's not a very common language, spoken by only one group of people beyond the mountains in his distant East Asian country, in 2 months while he lived in America. In 2 months. But you see the Muslim guy, inshallah, I'm going to go to Egypt for 6 months, brother, so I can learn Arabic. And after all this, he comes back and says, Jannah. استفدت ايش انت؟ Just kidding, جماعة. The point is that,
يا جماعة.
So don't reinvent the wheel, just go by what do they do and go. The guy's like, I gotta go to Egypt. Khalas, just do it. I've been seeing you for years. I actually did this study, I did this search real quickly one time. It was a topic on something similar. And we're saying, okay, I just wrote Arabic classes. I just went on YouTube, wrote Arabic classes. So I found series, each one like 20, 30 classes that are recorded, okay? And multiple of these series by different individual. In English, an English instructor, like 34 classes teaching Arabic. And another instructor, 26 classes, like that. Then in Urdu, teaching Arabic. Then the instructors are in Arabic, teaching Arabic. And I'm like, this guy who's going to go to Egypt for 6 months, and he's been saying that for the last 4 years, if he just took each one and finished them, and finished all these series, how good would he be? When he finally gets to Egypt, how way ahead would he be? There's so many things, just hack it, this is the age of hacking. Find the hack.
One of the most difficult things though is the issue of doing something by yourself, and people lose motivation when they're doing things by themselves. So a guy who's just gonna watch videos by himself for 6 months, that's a lot of discipline, as opposed to throwing yourself in Egypt where you're completely immersed, or being in a community, a group. That's why the online school dropout rate is so much more than on-site school, because when you're on-site, you're with a class of people. You're all going through school together, compared to doing it by yourself. Yes, what were you going to say?
I was just going to add to I just remember an example. I saw a video where somebody was going to Saudi from like a the Central Asian country.
Mhm.
And he said that he watched 5,000 hours of Sheikh Hussein.
Okay.
And he knew so much that literally promoting to like the master level.
Muslim, this guy's a Muslim?
Yeah, Central Asian.
Yeah, so he
Oh,
watched
okay,
5,000
okay.
hours of Sheikh Uthman. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Look, I haven't decided between Urdu and Russian. But when I decide, I'll make it public, and give me 6 months. 6 months, I'll be like, "Kya aap chahte hain ki Urdu mein Angrezi mein bolo?" Just give me 6 months, inshallah. So,
MashaAllah.
All right, inshallah. So, one language and 100 push-ups in 1 minute, inshallah. Anyone else? Before we end, inshallah ta'ala? Cool. Jazakumullah khair. With that, we end.